Aarhiya sat silently in the carriage beside Kaenar, the shadows of Umbereth sliding past them as the wheels creaked along the cobblestone. But even as he tried to focus on the scenery, his mind kept replaying the words Whitey had spoken to him earlier. Her voice, calm but commanding, echoed in his head, making his stomach twist with unease and curiosity all at once. In her dimly lit hut, Whitey had greeted him with that knowing smile, and the moment her words reached him, Aarhiya froze. She had called him by name, or at least, the name he'd used to hide himself. She knew who he truly was. Panic and disbelief washed over him. How did you know?" he had asked, his voice barely above a whisper. Whitey had simply traced a finger through the air, as if brushing the truth into reality itself. "Your scent," she had said. "It's the same as your mother, Vanya. There's no mistaking it. Her magic runs through you." Aarhiya had felt a jolt of shock, the kind that pierced deeper than any sword. His mother. No one had ever spoken her name to him like that. Even his father barely mentioned her, holding back grief that was too heavy to voice. All Aarhiya had ever known were whispers from others, praise, envy, blame. Senraya and her kind had even mocked him, saying his mother had died because she bore a weak child. Aarhiya's chest had tightened at those cruel words, but now, Whitey's knowledge made the hurt feel real in a different way, more personal, more urgent. He had asked her, almost desperately, did she ever come to Umbereth? Whitey's eyes, though blind, seemed to look right through him. "Yes," she said gently. "She came as a child. She was close to the late Queen, Teresi, Kaenar's mother, and they tried together to bring the sun back. But tragedy struck before they could succeed." Aarhiya had leaned closer, hungering for more, but Whitey had held up a hand. "There are things you cannot know yet," she said. "Destiny brought you here for a reason. Until you fulfill it, you cannot get rid of Umbereth. You and Kaenar are the key to restoring the sun. You must cooperate, whatever it takes." Her words had made him shiver. Cooperate? With Kaenar? He couldn't even begin to imagine. Then Whitey had stepped closer, her presence overwhelming in that small hut. "You are a Hera," she said softly but firmly. "Part of unlocking your power is sharing your energy with a powerful soulmate. That is the only way your magic will truly flow." Aarhiya's blood had run cold. "My energy?" He realized what she meant and coughed nervously. I am not that kind of person," he stammered. "I will never." Whitey had laughed, a quiet, knowing sound. "It's only a matter of time before your body obeys what your destiny demands." Flustered and frustrated, Aarhiya had turned to leave, but she had called after him, "You should tell Kaenar the truth about who you are. You are using another's identity to deceive him. You may not have done this on purpose, but you still have a chance to come clean. He may seem cold, heartless even, but he can understand, he will protect you. Better now than later." He had hesitated, shaking his head. "I have no interest in getting close to him," he had muttered. Years of failure, of being powerless in Luminar, had taught him that he couldn't save anyone, not even himself. Whitey had sighed, disappointment threading her voice. "You have your mother's scent, but you are nothing like her," she had said. "The rest, that is up to you." And just like that, she had turned away, leaving Aarhiya alone with the weight of her words. In the carriage, Aarhiya's hands fidgeted in his lap. The dark streets of Umbereth blurred past the windows, but in his mind, Whitey's hut, her voice, and her words refused to fade. His heart felt heavy, burdened with questions he wasn't sure he wanted the answers to. Beside him, Kaenar sat as still and imposing as ever, the flicker of torchlight from the carriage casting sharp shadows over his chiseled face. Aarhiya couldn't help but glance at him, wondering what the Emperor would think if he knew the truth, if he knew that the small, desperate woman sitting there in disguise was actually Luminar's crown prince. The carriage slowed, then finally came to a complete stop. Aarhiya felt it before he saw it, that strange stillness in the air, as if the world itself was holding its breath. He leaned forward and peeked through the curtain. His heart skipped. They were standing at the edge of a vast valley. Kaenar stepped down first and spoke casually, as if this weren't one of the most unsettling places Aarhiya had ever seen. "Come. Get out." Aarhiya followed him, his boots crunching softly against the stone. The moment he fully lifted his gaze, his breath caught. Far in the distance, just beyond the dark mist and the towering barrier, there was light. Not torchlight. Not moonlight. Sunlight. A small, radiant sliver of the sun shimmered through the barrier like a forbidden promise, glowing warm and gold against Umbritha's endless darkness. It felt unreal, like a dream someone forgot to erase. There's light here," Aarhiya whispered, his voice trembling. "How is this possible?" Kaenar's eyes remained fixed on the horizon. "I don't know," he said plainly. "It's always been this way." Aarhiya turned to him in disbelief. "And no one ever questioned it?" "People question many things," Kaenar replied. "They just don't always get answers." He gestured toward the valley. "This is where mages train. The closest place to the sun in all of Umbreth. Your energy will grow faster here." Aarhiya stiffened. "Training? Already?" He shook his head. I'm not ready." Kaenar finally looked at him then, his gaze sharp and unyielding. "You don't get to decide that." Aarhiya frowned. "What does that mean?" Kaenar stepped closer, his voice dropping. "If you want to see Nello again, you'll train." Aarhiya's heart sank. "You're blackmailing me." "I'm motivating you," Kaenar corrected coolly. "Each stage you overcome, I'll allow you to visit him." Aarhiya clenched his fists, anger burning in his chest, but he knew Kaenar wasn't bluffing. Before Aarhiya could think of something smacking to say, Kaenar reached up and removed his upper garment. Aarhiya froze. Moonlight traced every line of Kaenar's toned frame, power rolling off him like heat from fire. Magic shimmered faintly around his skin. For a split second, Aarhiya forgot where he was, forgot why he was angry. He stared. And felt his face heat up. Kaenar noticed immediately. "Hey! What are you looking at?" he snapped. "Snap out of it." Aarhiya jerked his gaze away, mortified. I wasn't," he groaned internally. "Get it together." Without another word, Kaenar led him farther along the valley until they reached a towering cliff. Far below, water roared as it crashed against jagged stone. Kaenar stopped at the edge. "I'll throw you off this cliff every day," he said calmly, as if discussing the weather. Aarhiya's eyes widened. "You'll do, what?" "Until the day you don't hit the water," Kaenar continued. "Until the day you can fly." Aarhiya laughed nervously. "Fly? That's not possible." Kaenar turned to him. "It is. It's the highest form of power. When you can fly before reaching the water, your magic will reveal itself." "And you? Can you fly?" Aarhiya asked quietly. Kaenar's gaze lifted to the moon above. "I do. I draw power from the moon. I bend and manipulate matter at will." His eyes flicked back to Aarhiya. "If I can train you to fly, then whatever power you hold will show itself." Fear crept into Aarhiya's chest. "You're insane." Kaenar smirked slightly. "Okay then, watch the insane me." Before Aarhiya could stop him, Kaenar stepped off the cliff. Aarhiya screamed. But just before Kaenar hit the water, his body twisted midair, and then he rose. He soared upward effortlessly, suspended against the dark sky like a living god, magic rippling around him. Aarhiya stood frozen, awe flooding his veins. Kaenar descended slowly, stopping directly in front of him, so close Aarhiya could feel the warmth of his energy. Aarhiya swallowed, his cheeks burning. Kaenar met his gaze. "Training starts today." And Aarhiya knew, there was no turning back now. Meanwhile, in the palace, Lenraya sat alone in her chambers, trying, and failing, to calm her raging temper. The room was lavish, filled with silks and flickering lamps, yet nothing soothed the storm inside her. Her fingers clenched against the armrest of her chair as the image of that servant, Senraya, refused to leave her mind. Moments later, the doors creaked open. Advisor Durian stepped inside. The moment she saw him, Lenraya rose slightly and said, "Uncle." The word carried weight. Blood. Loyalty. Power. Durian arched an eyebrow, his expression sharp but curious. "You sounded troubled," he said. "What is it this time that made you summon me so urgently?" Lenraya scoffed, pacing the room. "I have had a terrible feeling since that new servant entered the palace," she snapped. "Something is not right about her. Do you know where she came from?" Durian frowned. "A new servant," he repeated. "That's impossible. Anyone who enters the palace passes through me first." "That's exactly the problem," Lenraya shot back bitterly. "I asked my spies. None of them could trace her origin. And Kaenar," her lips curled with resentment. "Kaenar didn't even inform you." That made Durian still. If Kaenar had brought someone into the palace without his knowledge, then this was no small matter. Lenraya crossed her arms. "Which means she must be important to him," she said coldly. "And I don't like that." Durian's eyes darkened, calculating. "I'll look into it," he said slowly. "Whatever, or whoever, that servant is, I'll uncover the truth." As he turned to leave, he paused and glanced back at her. "Do not worry, Lenraya. Nothing will stand in the way of you becoming Empress of Umbreth." A slow, sinister smile spread across her face. "And soon," Durian added softly, "the world itself will be at your feet." Meanwhile, back at the valley, Aarhiya stood with his hands on his hips, trying to regain some dignity after being utterly overwhelmed by everything he'd seen. The strange sunlight still shimmered faintly behind the barrier, casting long shadows across the ground. "Well," Aarhiya said, attempting to sound confident, "my magic might be terrible, but my sword skills are excellent. I trained for years. I had to compensate somehow." Kaenar turned to him slowly. "Is that so?" he said flatly. Before Aarhiya could react, Kaenar gestured. "Show me." Moments later, Aarhiya realized, very painfully, that he had made a mistake. No matter how fast he moved, no matter how sharp his strikes were, Kaenar blocked every single attack with ease. He didn't even look strained. His movements were effortless, almost lazy, as if Aarhiya were nothing more than a mild inconvenience. Soon, Aarhiya was gasping for breath, sweat dripping down his face, his arms trembling. He hadn't landed a single hit. Kaenar lowered his sword and stared at him with clear disdain. "Pathetic." The word hit harder than any blade. "Until you can defeat me even once," Kaenar continued coldly, "you will not see Nello." Aarhiya's heart sank. Still, he tried again. And again. And again. Each attempt ended the same way, failure. Exhaustion. Humiliation. Eventually, the faint sun within the valley began to dip, its glow slowly fading as the barrier dimmed. "That's enough for today," Kaenar said at last. "We resume tomorrow." He calmly put his clothes back on, completely unbothered, while Aarhiya collapsed to his knees, barely able to stand. Without another word, Kaenar grabbed Aarhiya by the arm and dragged his exhausted body back toward the carriage. Aarhiya didn't even protest. As soon as the carriage rolled through the palace gates, Aarhiya could feel the atmosphere shift. The towering walls closed in around them, heavy with silence and secrets. They had barely stepped down when Advisor Durian appeared, as if he had been waiting all along. Durian bowed slightly, his sharp eyes fixed on Kaenar. "Your Majesty, you have been away for far too long, neglecting important state duties." I remind you that the council elders are convening the next day and expect your presence. Kaenar didn't even slow his stride. Without looking back, he replied, the elders are free to hold their meeting without me. His voice was flat, final. That was when Durian's gaze shifted, and landed on Aarhiya. Durian studied him carefully, his eyes narrowing. By the way, your majesty, who is this woman you have by your side? He looked clearly surprised. Aarhiya instinctively shrank under the weight of his stare, suddenly very aware that, to everyone here, he was still Senraya. Kaenar answered dismissively, she is just a random person I had picked up and not worth your attention. He turned to leave, clearly done with the conversation. But Durian wasn't. That's odd, your majesty. This is the first time you have brought someone into the palace without my knowledge. Then, in a quieter but sharper tone, he continued, has the emperor suddenly forgotten the promise he once made to me? The air between them tightened instantly. Aarhiya felt it before he even understood it. Kaenar stopped walking. When he turned back, his jaw was clenched, his eyes dark with restrained fury. Through gritted teeth, he said, I remember very well. And with that, he walked away. Durian remained standing there, watching him go. Aarhiya felt a chill crawl up his spine under the advisor's lingering gaze. He didn't wait another second. He hurried after Kaenar, his heart pounding as if he had just walked past something dangerous. That night, Kaenar slept restlessly. His dreams dragged him back to a place he hated, a place where fear always won. In the nightmare, he was running, his boots heavy as if the ground itself refused to let him move. Ahead of him was his mother. She walked calmly toward a spreading darkness, her back to him, her figure slowly fading. Mother! He cried, reaching for her. But his body wouldn't obey him. His feet felt rooted to the ground, his arms useless at his sides. From within the shadow, long, jagged claws suddenly emerged, wrapping tightly around her. She didn't scream. She didn't even turn around. Kaenar screamed instead. Just as the darkness swallowed her whole, a sound drifted into the dream, a soft, beautiful melody. The gentle cry of a bamboo flute cut through the terror, wrapping around him like a warm embrace. The shadow trembled. The claws loosened. Kaenar jolted awake. He sat up sharply, his chest heaving, sweat soaking through his clothes. His heart pounded as if it was trying to escape his ribs. The nightmare had felt too real, just like all the others. Unable to stay in bed, he stood and walked to the balcony. Cool night air brushed against his skin, and that was when he heard it again. The flute. Below, in the golden garden, a familiar figure sat beneath the moonlight. Senraya. She was seated quietly among the glowing flowers, her fingers moving effortlessly over the flute as the same soothing melody floated through the night. Without realizing it, Kaenar felt his shoulders relax. The tight knot in his chest slowly loosened. Before he could think better of it, Kaenar left his chambers and made his way down to the garden. Aarhiya noticed him when his shadow fell across the light. He startled slightly and lowered the flute. I'm sorry, Aarhiya said quickly. I didn't mean to wake you. I'll stop. Kaenar shook his head. No, he said, surprising even himself. Don't apologize. Your music, it helped. I was having a nightmare. Aarhiya hesitated, then nodded gently. Kaenar took a seat beside him, the silence between them strangely comfortable. After a moment, Kaenar asked, how did you learn to play so well? Aarhiya smiled faintly. My teacher in Luminar. His name was René. He said music could calm the mind when magic couldn't. He sighed, whenever I play, it feels like my worries disappear, even if just for a moment. Kaenar listened quietly. After a pause, Aarhiya glanced around the glowing garden. This place, it's beautiful. How does something like this exist in a kingdom of darkness? Kaenar's gaze softened as he looked at the flowers. My mother created it. She missed the sun. So she poured her energy into this garden, made something that would remind her of the light. His voice lowered. Even after she died, it stayed. Like she never truly left. Aarhiya felt his chest tighten. He remembered Whitey's words and thought perhaps, how wrong the stories about Kaenar truly were. He was starting to become curious to know more about him. After a moment, Aarhiya lifted the flute again. "May I play for you?" Kaenar nodded. The melody returned, softer this time, weaving through the garden as Kaenar watched Aarhiya in silence. The moonlight danced around them, the flowers glowing brighter with every note. Neither of them noticed the figure hidden behind the pillars at the edge of the garden, Lenreya, her hands clenched tightly, her eyes burning with unrestrained fury as she watched them together. Thanks for watching. Do like and subscribe to the channel for more episodes.不写竹针蹒跚脚步悠悠晃晃如当年刚下